Good afternoon, Edvardy Jackson with the World Telegram News. Here's what's happening in our community. Phase 1 of the East Delavan Sewer Improvement Project has started. The project, which has a budget of $100 million, will help modernize infrastructure and help reduce the amount of sewage that goes into the Skagit-Quada Creek. Mayor Scanlon was there to help kick off the announcement.
The beginning of a larger, bigger picture project, the Queen City Clean Waters Initiative, which is a $1 billion undertaking over the next 15 years to improve the health and safety of our local waterways. It'll modernize more than 50 sites across the city of Buffalo, and this initiative aligns with my administration's goals to create an equitable and inclusive methods of delivering public health and economic benefits.
Buffalo Pro Soccer announced an expansion to Queen City Field in a press conference last Friday that would expand its capacity to 7,600 seats thanks to $10 million in private funding. Senator Sean Ryan and Mayor Scanlon were there at the announcement. However, there has been an outcry of concern regarding the venue's environmental impact. Queen City Field, which was known as a Mayoral sports complex, had been closed in 2021 for sulfur dioxide emissions because it was located near a PVS chemicals plant. The venue is set to reopen next year.
The race for mayor here is heating up, with several candidates now announcing their candidacy. Acting Mayor Chris Scanlon is running for a full term after succeeding Byron Brown last year. On the Democratic ticket, his competition includes State Senator Sean Ryan, former Fire Commissioner Garnell Whitfield, Common Council member Rashid Wyatt, and advocate Michael Gaynor. On the Republican candidate ticket, there's James Gardner. James Payne dropped out of the Republican ticket on April 7th. The Democratic primary is scheduled for June 24th, with the general election for November 4th.
Mayor Scanlon announced last week that a Buffalo landlord named Chuck Dobuki was arrested yesterday after 3 outstanding warrants to show up in a housing court relating to 4 of the worn-down buildings he owns in Allentown.
2 weeks ago, we reported that Mayor Scanlon authorized emergency action at 2 St. Louis Place. That building was one of the buildings Chuck owned. This comes as the city continues its work to secure abandoned or unsafe buildings. Work begun earlier this week and will target illegal trespassing, overgrowth of plants on the side of the building, and debris. City officials say proceedings to take ownership could take 3 to 6 months.
Mayor Scanlon announced the news saying, quote, "We are sending a clear message that property neglect and disregard for the law will not be tolerated in Buffalo," end quote.
The National Weather Service has paused its automated translated weather bulletins after one of their contracts ended. The National Weather Service has been training an AI large language model to translate weather bulletins into various languages, including Spanish. Buffalo's weather office is not affected because they were not served by the program. With that said, though, this is likely a result of President Trump's executive order to designate English as the official language of the United States. Finally, a Buffalo man has been found guilty in connection to a deadly shooting outside a bar on Hurdle Avenue. The case went up to the state Supreme Court, where a guilty verdict was delivered for William Quinones on manslaughter and weapons charges. These charges stem from a shooting that happened early last May. Prosecutors say he used an illegal gun to shoot a man outside a bar on Hurdle Avenue. Quinones is being held without bail and faces up to 25 years in prison. He's being sentenced next month.
The search is on for Buffalo Schools' next superintendent, and they're asking for your thoughts. A 2-question survey is available on the district's website. The survey asks for input on the qualities desired in the next superintendent and the district's strengths and challenges. Responses will be accepted until May 1st. The board plans to extend an offer to the successful candidate by July 2025, with the goal of welcoming the new superintendent to the Buffalo City School District by the fall of 2025.
The Buffalo and Erie County Botanical Gardens is celebrating its 125th anniversary this year. Established in 1900, the gardens were made as part of Frederick Law Olmsted's design for South Park in Buffalo. To celebrate, the gardens are installing an on-site history timeline as custom wallpaper, showcasing historical photos and significant events throughout their history. And last Friday, people gathered at William Street McDonald's for a special coffee with a cop event hosted by BPD in partnership with Mayor Scanlon, the DA's office, and McDonald's.
People had the chance to sit down with officers over a meal to have conversations about public safety and community concerns. On top of that, there was a raffle where someone was able to take home a TV. In a statement to the department's Facebook, they emphasized that events like these are key to building trust and transparency within the community. Quote, "We are excited to keep this open dialogue going with the members of our community," end quote, they said.
Coffee with a Cop is one of several outreach initiatives by the department aimed at strengthening relationships between law enforcement and Buffalo residents.
A new report from Zillow expects Buffalo to have the hottest housing market this year, partially due to the city's affordable home prices and construction pace in comparison to the national average. This is the second year being on Zillow's top list.
In second place is Indianapolis, and in third place is Providence, Rhode Island. They also said their research found fierce competition among buyers last year and expect it to slow slightly in 2025, but not completely.
The Bills marked a major milestone in the construction of their new stadium, as a final steel beam was placed on the structure in Orchard Park known as a toppings out ceremony. The event signifies the completion of the stadium's steel framework, which is around the halfway mark for construction. The new Highmark Stadium is expected to open ahead of the 2026 NFL season. The construction started in June 2023 and is being carried out by a joint team from Gilbane and Turner Construction, with design work by the architecture firm Populous.
The $1.7 billion stadium could fit 60,000 people and is being designed to feature modern benefits and advanced technology. Out of the total cost, $850 million is being funded by state and county taxpayers. Over 1,000 people attended the ceremony, including New York Governor Kathy Hochul, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz, and Bills owner Terry Pegula. During the event, the final beam was lifted 156 feet into the air, decorated with the American flag and a small tree, in keeping with a long-standing construction tradition for good luck and safe work. Officials say the project is on schedule.
There's continued opposition to the Kensington Expressway redevelopment project in Buffalo's east side. Residents and advocacy groups are challenging the state's approach to the initiative, which will cap a portion of the expressway between Dodge and Sydney streets, creating a 4,100-foot tunnel with green space on top of it. While it intends to reconnect neighborhoods divided since the expressway's construction in the 1960s, people against the proposal argue that the plan falls short of addressing long-standing environmental and health concerns.
Community members continue to advocate for alternatives that prioritize environmental justice and public health. Proposals include fully removing the expressway and restoring the original Humboldt Parkway, rather than constructing a tunnel. Activists argue that the current plan does not adequately address issues such as air pollution and asthma rates, which disproportionately affect predominantly black neighborhoods along the expressway corridor. Earlier this month, the World Telegram News spoke to a protester concerned about this during the hands-off protest, where he said it was basically weeks away from having shovels in the ground, and a couple organizations in Buffalo basically completely stopped it in its tracks. Now they're starting an environmental study, which they illegally skipped the first time around, and hopefully it could be completely restored. The 198 plans to be removed, and that portion of Humboldt Park will be restored down to Delavan Avenue, but the poorer section of the neighborhood south of Delavan will have a highway and a cap. So it shows that the state is willing to restore the parkway for a more wealthy neighborhood, but not the poor neighborhood. That was a quote directly coming from Sebastian Bowen, a protester that we spoke to. The website listed on his sign during the protest was a link to the East Side Parkway Coalition's website, which called for the complete removal of Route 33 and Route 198, the latter of which is the highway that connects Buffalo State University.